Hi and welcome. We're going to do some work on Chanson de Matin by Edward Elgar, a very beautiful piece originally written for violin and piano, here arranged for solo piano. We're going to work through it hands separately first of all, then I'll put both hands together and we'll discuss the pedal at that point as well. So first of all, hands separately, and just for now I won't use any pedal at all. So beautiful melody, lyrical legato tune in the right hand to start with. Now then, fingering. You're probably playing from the same edition that I am, i.e. the one in the booklet, because it was arranged specifically for the exam. And so there's lots of fingering marked in it. I will occasionally change things and I'll draw your attention to them if they're important, not if they're not. And every hand is different. My hand is this particular shape and so different people will choose different fingerings. Other detail is that that last note, 3 beats, it has to last for the full 3 beats. The disadvantage of the piano is that as soon as we've played a note, it starts to disappear. On the violin, of course, the violinists can make that note grow or die away. They're in complete control of it with their bow. So my point is we've got to make sure there's enough tone for that A to last for 3 beats. Let's go from the top again. Dolce, sweetly. You can still hear it. That's an answering phrase, isn't it? Now slightly quieter. We have a sequence here, haven't we? A sequence, so the same phrase just gradually moves its way down the piano. And I'm playing those notes slightly detached, staccato, not aggressively detached. I think that would be wrong, but just slightly detached. And we'll talk about the pedal in a moment. So we can do that sequence which ends here from the C. And a slight sort of pulling back there before this very beautiful. Probably, if we're following the same fingering pattern, start with the 4th there. Notice a different phrase at the end of the line there. If I go from bar 15 again, so I start with 4th finger to keep the same. That's one phrase, and then so we needn't link those up. And now the right hand is just playing some accompanying chords. And with 2 notes, listen very carefully. Are they absolutely together? They're not. 2. And I find it's a little bit is that you've got to play them quite quickly. If you go too slowly, they will tend not to work. So quite quickly, but absolutely controlled. It's one motion down to the key bed. I'm going all the way to the key bed. If I dilly-dally, that's where we get a sort of hiatus. And a little snippet of tune. So the fingering I did there was I did 3, 1, 3, 2. But allargando, slight broadening, and we're growing, aren't we, here? can each note be louder than the one before? How many levels of loudness are there? Well, there's PP, P, MP, MF, F, FF, 6 one might say. But one could argue that there are more. There are different levels in between all of those. So we ought to certainly, in those 4 notes, be able to play one louder than the other. Dying away there, holding onto the D carefully. We will be using the pedal, but the chords are changing in this bar, so we do need to especially hold on to that D with our finger as well. Very lightly, these staccato notes, I think. They were detached, whereas that was more held. And hold on to that C for as long as you dare. As long as you dare, of course, it's got to move at some point. Sorry, it didn't sound then. It's got to move and be on time. And the same thing, an octave lower. And getting quieter and slowing down there at the end. The left hand, let's think that through. So we will use the pedal in a moment. I'll discuss the pedal, but not for now. Let's be fussy with our fingers too. So let's hold on to these notes. If there's a minim, a 2-beat note, a half note written in, we need to make sure we hold on to it. Let's keep going. Effectively, our left hand is playing 2 parts there. If you play a string instrument, I often just think of strings. You could arrange this for a string quartet. It would sound lovely, wouldn't it? It would sound great, or a string trio. And that is our cello part. And this is our viola second violin going on here. And as a pianist, we're playing both parts together. And think of it as being 2 lines. I'm slightly too much bringing out that cello part there, but you could play with that, can't you? Let's pick it up back from bar 9. Hold on to that C. Enjoy the crunch. Hold on to the B. I probably skipped down to 3rd and 4th for that chord, I think, to get ready for that one. And here, the left hand now has a little bit of tune, doesn't it? Just a moment of glory for the cello in our arrangement. That is all the melodic material. Then it goes back to accompanying. Very smooth down this line, I think. Dominant 7th chord, taking us to G. A little bit of decoration. And each chord, if possible, quieter than the one before. I think my penultimate chord is already very quiet. I left myself with nowhere to go. So now let's put them together, and as we go through together now, I'll discuss what I'm doing with the pedal. So the harmony for almost the whole piece is one chord per bar. Bar 33 and 34, that's not the case, and there may be the other little spot, but basically there's a chord per bar. So our pedal will be bobbing up and down on the first beat of each bar. Let's try that from the start. I think that works just perfectly. Interesting to note the chords that Elgar is using there, they are classic chords. He's using, we're in G major, aren't we? Chord 1 in inversion, which is going to chord 2 to chord 5. But he's made them slightly more interesting. By chord 2, he's added the 7th to make it sweeter. And on the chord 5, he's got what we call a 4-3 suspension. So the fourth note, D, E, F, G, becomes the third note of the chord. So together, notice how that suspension crunches with the melody note. And that melody note, again, a sort of harmony point, is a pivot note. So that's an A7, an A7 chord with an A in it. But there's also an A in our D chord. So A becomes a D chord. As a composer, we use that a lot. I don't want to digress too long, but pick a C. We can harmonise that with a C major chord. We could harmonise it with an A flat. That's quite an interesting progression, isn't it? Here's it one more time. Back to Elgar, he's got A with an A minor. Something else. Let's move on before I get down a harmony rabbit hole. So still the pedal is going up and very quickly down on the first beat of the bar. And when I say up, it's going up as I play the notes at the beginning of the bar and then quickly back down again, which brings us to bar 9. Now, I think you can use the pedal and play staccato. If you're thinking, well, that doesn't make sense, let's have a think. I'm going to play bar 9 and 10 with the pedal down. Now I'm going to not play staccato those first two notes. I hope very much you heard the difference. Here they are one more time. I'm not going to say anything this time. As opposed to so you could use the pedal in bar 9. I'm using the pedal for each bar just as I have before. Or that time I wasn't pedaling for bar 9 but was for bar 10, not for 11, yes for bar 12. So there are options there for you to explore and play with, and try them on your own piano. Every piano is different. Every acoustic is slightly different, and work out what makes sense for you. I'm going to go back, let's go back to bar 9 again, and I'm going to pedal each bar. Yes, did you notice I dithered about the fingering there? I think we do need the 5th on the B in order to get comfortably up to there, which means which means hopping the fifth finger from the A to the B there. Third finger on the C or fourth, have a play, or slowing up before. Now I'm not using any pedal for that bar 22. I can hold the chord there. So for that chunk I'm pedaling each note, each crotchet note, because I don't want that to blur with that or that to blur with that. So no pedal for that bar to avoid that getting muddled up, and then pedal, 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 pedal. Pedals for each crotchet beat. Same thing. Pedal, 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 pedal. But using the pedal helps create a lovely resonant sound. Each crotchet beat there. Each note here, because the harmony is changing. Notice how he's holding on to the D through that chord progression, which takes us to A minor, of course. Let's go from bar 31. So I shouldn't have repeated the D there. No pedal here, I don't think. Back to pedaling with each beat. No pedal for that bar. Oh, I did some silly fingering there for my right hand. It's funny how when we put both together, automatic pilot seems to take over a little bit. Well, it does when you haven't thought about it beforehand. Well, that would be some fussy fingering. Let me show you that again. And I'm swapping a finger on the C here as I play the F sharp in order to play very smoothly from there to there. But it's not really necessary. We can just jump the thumb. But whatever we do, I think we should start on the thumb for that D. Do you agree? I prefer it with pedaling each beat. Let me try that now. And we do want to hear those rests. And I'm pedaling with those chords. So pedal is down, pedal comes up with my fingers. And usually I like to hold the notes and the pedal, and then they both come off together. And there's something rather clunky about that. It sort of announces the end. Perhaps that's a performer's thing, a thing for the eye rather than for the ear. But do you agree? Somehow it seems to work. So it's a lovely piece. Really expressive melody in the right hand. Lots of tone, legato playing with the odd little snippet of staccato. And we've explored how staccato and pedal can work well. Although on the second page there are bits where I think it sounds even better without the pedal when we're playing staccato. And held notes in the left hand, which is sort of playing two parts, isn't it? And a very expressive performance. Lots of changes to the tempo, ritz, a tempos, allargando, broadening, and a ral slowing up at the end. And lots of dynamic contrast as well. It's a soft piece generally, isn't it? The climax of the whole thing, probably bar 32, are you thinking? But lots of swelling and dying away. I hope you found that helpful. Any questions, please come back to me. Bye-bye for now.